Imagine a technology so powerful it can track multiple targets across vast landscapes simultaneously, like to the scale of Big Brother. No matter where you go, you will never be out of range of the all-seeing eye. This scenario is closer to reality than ever before, and you might not even be aware of it. Today, we're discussing the Gorgon Stare and its impact on military strategy, privacy concerns, and the ethical dilemmas it presents in an era of ever-expanding surveillance. Welcome to Let's Be Briefed. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Sydney.
So, we're talking about Gorgon Stare. Have you heard of this? Besides, like, what I've told you
No,
a little bit?
not
Okay.
outside. Well, maybe. I listen to a lot of conspiracy podcasts,
Yeah.
so I feel like it could have come up, but I'm not super familiar with it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, probably not many people have, like, heard of this specific technology, but, like, being surveilled is not really anything new. Like, there's CCTV cameras everywhere, it seems like already. And if you're outside, then like you're probably being watched by something. So like you might not be thinking like what's the big deal? Or you might be thinking what's the big deal with the Gorgon stare as opposed to like what we already have. But this technology has like such a wider reach and it can view you like whenever you're outside. Like even in your backyard where you would assume you still have like a reasonable amount of privacy because
I
it
really hate that. I have a
right.
thing about privacy.
Yeah, I really don't like this either.
But
Like,
isn't, like, in China, they have, like, mass surveillance like this, right?
yeah, is theirs from the sky though?
I don't know, but I know it, like, ties into their
Ads.
social credit,
Yeah,
sesame
right.
credit, which we
So
should
that
actually, that's a good episode topic.
that
Although we
would be a
might
good
get put on a
episode.
list. I
I
think we're
mean,
already on a list, but it's okay.
yeah, we're probably already on a list or whatever. Also, like, does it matter if we get on a list from like China? Like, whatever. Fuck China.
Well, if we're at war, if there is a war, and we're
Well,
on a list, I think that means we're going to the gulag.
what do you mean? We're anti-China.
But if China were to be at war with
Oh,
us on our soil, I think we would
they're
go to
not
the
gonna.
gulags.
I don't think they'll make it to our soil. I
We
don't know.
better hope so.
This is whatever.
We
Yeah, if
just got
China
ourselves put on the list.
yeah, I guess if China invades the US, then why would they go after us though? Like, I don't know. That's I don't know. Anyway,
Now I'm scared.
well, okay, so let's talk about this though. I don't know if
Sorry.
it's the same as China. No, that's fine. But so this technology is like widely known as whammy, which is wide area motion imagery. I love all the names that they say.
I know.
And like there are a ton of them used in the military currently. Like Gorgon Stare is the Air Forces, but there's others for like the Army and other organizations, like under other names. But they're all a type of whammy. And other names for this type of surveillance is WAPS, which is with two S's, which is Wide Area Persistent Surveillance System, or WFOV. I don't know how you would say that as a word. WFOV. Wide Field of View, or WAS, which is Wide Area Airborne Surveillance. I don't know. I'm gonna say whammy if it comes up
I
later
like
because I like that
WAPs.
better. WAPS. Yeah, with two S's. WAPS. But the idea for this started in like the early 2000s, kind of. So, I mean, not the idea, but like the actual practical stuff started then. But surveillance up until the like US invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan were still images from the sky. Like it was never a camera and it was like they took an image and then like 2 weeks later it was still accurate, which is like crazy that it would still be accurate.
Yeah.
But I guess during the Cold War, like things weren't moving. But in Iraq and Afghanistan, you have like insurgents, like cells that were moving constantly, so they needed something else. And also with the use of IEDs in the war, like they needed real-time surveillance, and that need like went up. So the first was the Predator, which I'm sure people are familiar with, but it's an unmanned aircraft with a camera on its nose. And at first it was very unpopular. It only flew like 70 miles per hour, and it was easy to shoot down since it wasn't that fast. And also it was unarmed at first. And like many pilots didn't want to remain on the ground, like they wanted to fly in the air because they're a pilot. They didn't want to have to remotely fly it. So it was pretty unpopular. But it was the first of its kind that could follow targets with a live video feed. So like now a target couldn't outrun it because it could like monitor that person. And also
That's so scary.
it is scary. But this is also like for war. Like I get
Right.
why it started. Like
Right.
that's fine, I guess. It did definitely scary. And since it didn't need to land to replace the pilots, like it could remain in the sky for 24 hours at a time, as long as it had fuel. And in a classified operation in 2000, the CIA flew a Predator over Afghanistan to track Osama bin Laden to test out like this new technology. And apparently, the Predator had found Osama bin Laden and was able to like take up orbit over the area and was waiting for the Navy to dispatch a cruise missile to like take out Osama bin Laden and his closest associates. But for some reason, a decision was made to hold off on pulling the trigger. Which
No,
like
I
that's
wonder
crazy. You're
why.
right, yeah.
Don't get
Yeah.
me started.
I know, yeah. Yeah, we could have potentially avoided 9/11, but they didn't take the shot. That's a different episode.
Yeah, probably one we'll never do. It's too
Yeah,
controversial.
probably never. Right. Um, but yeah, so the IED like became a known issue that they wanted to resolve in like 2003. So like predators became more popular then, and they were trying to prevent like soldiers from becoming casualties. But it didn't really help at first. Like often predator crews had to watch as like ground patrols would encounter an IED, so they like witnessed firsthand like the devastation on soldiers and civilians. Like they couldn't actually prevent it,
Wait,
which is
that's sad.
I know, it's
They just
really
have to
sad.
watch it happen?
Yes, they'd have to watch it happen. And then they'd have to pour over the footage afterwards to see what they had missed. Because then they knew an IED went off, so they had to look for the clues that there was an IED there.
Oh my god.
Yeah, which often the clue was just like a patch of overturned dirt where it had been buried. So it's like so easy to miss. Like
Yeah.
you'd only know in hindsight that, oh yeah, that's where it was buried. So it didn't even really help anything, and it's probably causing a lot of PTSD and stuff.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. So they like switched tactics to instead of like trying to find where every buried IED was, they were going to kill or apprehend the teams who were putting the IEDs there. So try and like prevent it from even being buried first. Because at first they were just trying to identify where every IED was, which is never going to work. So Air Force created a rotating system that allowed the predators to focus on like a single target indefinitely. So like as one drone ran out of fuel, another would come in and replace it, and like flight crews would rotate without the footage stopping, and intelligence analysts would also like switch out to analyze the feeds. So this created a new doctrine of airborne intelligence called persistent surveillance. Um, but one big drawback of the Predator was pilots had to like decide to zoom in or out on the video feed. Uh, like if you zoomed in, you'd be able to see your target better and like see what they're holding, like if it's a gun or a tool or whatever. But if you're zoomed in, then you can't see the rest of the area and like something could be happening in another part that you're missing. But if you're zoomed out, you can like see everything happening, but you can't see those like fine details to assess like the threat level of the individual. So like this is called the soda straw problem, since it's like you're looking through a soda straw and you're missing everything else.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And Predator pilot Scott Swanson described the challenge of like when to decide to zoom in and zoom out as like part luck and part art. So it's like just up to luck, really. Or like your gut feeling, I guess. But if you're following a convoy of cars and they split up, like you have to decide which car to follow, and you don't know who's in each car. So like there's a lot of luck there.
Can they see the
And
drones? They
yeah, I
must
think you
not have been
can.
able to.
Really?
Well,
I
how
feel like
how would they not get shot down?
no, that was the first problem. I said
Oh.
they were easy to shoot down because they could only go 70 miles per hour.
Oh.
Now they can go a lot faster, so I think it's a lot harder to pin down. And originally they were unarmed, but now they have missiles on the drones too.
Okay.
So like the drones can also like shoot something that's trying to
Okay.
shoot it. But that was a problem at first.
But wouldn't they just not do anything if
Yeah, you would think. But if they already did something and the drone's coming in
Oh.
and they're trying to get away, they can't get away.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. You're right.
Yeah. But yeah, or like a car could get blocked by tall buildings and you kind of have to guess where it's gonna come out to get the view again, because that they could hide that way. And like this is probably like a weekly problem at least, like that you have to decide these things if not daily. So like of course they can't always pick the right call for which way to follow it or whatever. So they lose a lot of targets this way. And then another issue is like most predators focus on a target and are zoomed in on that one target and they'll follow that target like for however long they need to get like the information that they're wanting. Like pretty much to take out the target, I guess. So they'll follow that one as long as they want, but then you're missing like all the other key players in the area. Like you can't recognize the patterns and connections that like that one target has to other people. So you're missing the bigger picture. Because they don't have enough predators to follow every single person that's
Right.
a target. And like often the predators, like once they took out a target after so many hours of surveillance, that target would just be replaced by someone else within the organization. So they're not even like making an impact, and they're spending like hours of surveying these people. So that was a big problem. Um, So in 2004, the Pentagon called for technologies to counter the IEDs. And anything with a 51% chance of success was looked at and invested in, which is like, I wish they had a bigger
Well, the
percent. I don't know.
50%, if it's because it wasn't that like a huge problem? Like a lot of
Yeah,
people died and got hurt
oh,
because of
definitely.
that. So I guess a 50% reduction is like half.
Right. That's true. No, 51% chance of succeeding.
Oh.
The new technology.
Oh, yeah, that's not great.
Right. Yeah, that's not great. So like little known defense firms like sprang up at the opportunity to like capitalize on this, and they had like untested technologies. So a task force headed by Steve Siddharth, who was an Air Force colonel at the time, which I guess he is retired at this time, but he created or was head of this task force created to check out like on all the bids that were coming in. And this task force would go on to spend $75 billion on counter IED technologies, many of which were futuristic and untested, which probably means they didn't work.
Yeah, they love to waste our money, don't they?
Yeah, they do. This is where like all the money goes, like that disappears and stuff that they
Yeah.
lose track of. Yeah. But through this, like bidding was how the Gorgon Stare rose. So it was like, but it was something that had been in the works like for a while before this.